All right, so today is the day we finally do the oil pan gasket. I'm not sure if it needs a front main. I don't think it needs a front main at this time. My guess is because when I had my front main go bad on my other truck was it was flinging oil everywhere. So I'm gonna change the oil pan gasket today. Okay, so what I'm gonna be able to do to get this thing as easy as possible, we're gonna lift the truck in the front as high as possible while leaving the axle droop. That's gonna be the plan of attack that we're gonna be going with today. You guys saw last time when we were changing the springs and all that. That's how I got the coil buckets and all that stuff out. So we're gonna do the same thing again. I need to grab some jack stands, lift it up. We're gonna be going off of this guy right here. So we'll be able to lift from that. As long as you lift on the outer edges, you do not wanna lift from the middle. If you do, you're gonna not have a good time because you're gonna bend that bar and it's gonna screw your steering up. So don't do that. But we're gonna be lifted from the outside. We'll get this thing as high up in the air, as squatted as possible. And if we need to go any higher, then at that point, we can physically lift the motor. See, there's a hook here. We can loosen the motor mounts, lift the motor up a little bit. We can probably get about 6 inches off of that. So we have more than enough room than we need to be able to get this thing apart. So I will go grab the Malley gasket here in a second. So we're gonna be running an OEM Cummins filter. I like these. And we're gonna be running T6 Rotella. Now, all said and done, this is about $100 right here. I was looking at AMSOIL stuff, and good God, it's like $200 just to do an oil change. And honestly, the last time I had one of these engines fail, it was always piston rings. It was never something that it was oil related. It was always like an injector goes out or like just a piston ring in general. So we're going to be going back to the good old trusty T6 Rotella 5W40. I know you can get this stuff in 1540, but we are coming into winter time, so we're going to be running this stuff. I like it. I had an engine last 443 before a piston ring let loose, and it was only one. So if this engine ever goes, we're probably going to try to do an actual legit rebuild on it as opposed to, you know, what we did last time. But good quality parts, sending it out to the machine shop, this and that, because I'm not going to pay $5,600 to do a rebuild. So we'll end up going that route if it ever fails. But I went with this stuff. I was going to go with the AMSOIL, but like I said, I can't justify doing $200 for an oil change. This stuff's still quality stuff. We're using OEM stuff. On my other truck, I was using Mobile Delvac, which is like the cheapest Walmart brand stuff. I don't know the quality of it. You guys can let me know. But this stuff, I've heard nothing but good things about it. Just there's some people that complain about it. But, you know, all in all, I've run this stuff for like ever on my common rails, and I like this stuff. So it's synthetic, and that's what I'm gonna run. So now we're gonna get this thing up in the air. Might make sense before I actually come through and do all of this work. Let's make sure that we actually have the right gasket. See guys, isn't that neat that you can do that? There you go. All right, here we are. We got our Malley gasket. So everybody said this is the one that fits the Cummins. I really hope it is, because there was a few of them. All right, so we got her up in the air a little bit. Now I am definitely gonna have to lift the whole thing up because of the fact that we still have to clear that up there. So I'm getting the oil drained now, and this is what I find on the truck. Okay. So, I can only assume whoever worked on this thing before was not very intelligent. So, I'm just going to call it that. Don't ever put a Fram on a diesel. I thought it was a Baldwin because it was like that reddish color from what I could see. To see now that it's a Fram, I now know that I need to go over everything on this truck. Worse than I did before. So we're gonna have to check the diff fluid and the transmission fluid and all that stuff. Don't put a Fram on a diesel. Like, I know I was pretty bad with my 12 valve, but at least I didn't put a Fram on it. That's terrible. So we got both the bolts loose, so we are ready to lift the motor up physically. Get this out of there. Somebody gutted this, by the way. But if you guys need to get an oil filter off and are having trouble doing it, what I did was on this one, I put the screwdriver on it and you just smack it until it you know, comes off loose enough. Sometimes we don't have the tool. My tool's like buried way back in the back here, so I couldn't find it. So we got the majority of the bolts out. It's a very dirty job laying under here, but I don't think it's a front main now that I'm getting close and looking at it. We know there's an oil pan leak. We got that. But I do think that maybe the front case is leaking, so at some point I'm going to have to take the whole front case off. So I'm going to get one thing, the obvious, fixed first, which is the oil pan, and then let the truck make some money, see where's, you know, get the whole thing cleaned off, and then come back in. And if it needs a front case, well, then at that point, I'm just going to take pretty much everything off the front. So we'll pull off, yeah, we'll have to take off the fan clutch and all the other bullshit and get that stuff out of the way. But hopefully it's that simple. We know that the valve cover was leaking at some point, you guys can see, so I'll get that all cleaned off. I need to take this to a place and pressure wash and all that stuff. I also need to get like all these little bullshit wiring that whatever, I don't know if the previous owner did that or someone paid somebody to do that. I have no idea what the story is. Not blaming anybody specifically except whoever did it. This is just absolutely terrible, and like all this stuff needs to be taken out and redone. If you guys have shitty motor mounts, this will make your job, your life, very difficult. So they're seized inside the motor mount, and I was trying to break the head free, and I actually ended up snapping the motor mount bolt. So I got one on order. I'll end up getting it later, but yeah, so that's why I couldn't lift the motor up all the way. Oh, I broke my block heater cord too. Nope, yeah, definitely be careful doing this. That block heater cord was shot. I'm going to be replacing that here in a minute. I have another one, but yeah, it looks like it didn't like the, oh, it did not like the stretch. Okay, that cord was shot anyway, so I tried plugging it in the other day and it just did not work, and there's so much corrosion on the inside, so yeah, I knew I was going to replace that anyway. Fortunately, the other side is seized as well, so it's not going to lift itself up. That makes this very difficult. All right, here's where we are at underneath. See, we clear it, so I just need to get that guy up there, and then the whole thing will slide down with the oil pan. So I got the pan off, and you guys need to watch when you're doing this. That front bolt right up there, right here, the pan wants to get caught on, so you're gonna have to watch that. So there was also somebody replaced the drain, smashed that into the oil pan, which is fine, I understand that, but there was a piece of silicone stuck to this as well. So probably gonna get all that cleaned out, get all this gasket off. You can tell this gasket was leaking. Like everything is black. So somebody was definitely in here at one point. I want to make sure that ultimately the pan is structurally sound, and then we'll go get the, I don't have to replace the other motor mount bolt. So this one's still seized. You can see like the angle of the, usually this is supposed to lift up nicely, but this motor mount's still seized. That'll be future me's problem. I understand I probably shouldn't do that, but we do have to work this truck. Like I'm saying, thing needs to make some money. I'm also gonna, like I said, I'll replace that real quick, but you can also see like all the stains and stuff. Seeing those stains as well, I'm assuming the front case is leaking the whole way around it, so we'll do that. I don't need the shop for that, but I do need the shop to do an oil pan because I need this trusty engine hoist, and I've physically bent this, and then I had to re-straighten it, and now it's bending again. I think the hole's like right here. So I'm gonna let this pan sit and soak. We're gonna get this whole thing cleaned off. So we're taking every precaution to get this thing as clean as possible. I did the underside as well, so I've already wiped this out. I'm gonna do it one more time to get all the little pieces out, but this is what we're trying to do. Try to get all the loose paint off, any rust, any of that stuff. The pan looks great on the inside. I want to make sure that when I put this thing back on, it's not gonna start leaking again. So we're gonna get that taken care of. Looks like the sun's coming out. It was just pouring down rain. After that, I'll start prepping the surfaces on the truck itself, and we'll go from there. All right, so we went through, verified there's no holes. I've checked any spots, like something like this. I've taken the flashlight all the way underneath, made sure there was no holes in anything. That works most of the time, not all of it, but we verified that the gasket works, so we're gonna put some high temp, a little bit of high temp silicone all the way across just to hold the gasket. You do not want to mess this up, because if you do and you only have one gasket, you're kind of screwed. So this took like a week or two to get here. So like I said, we're going to do this, put a little bit on it, put it on there, let it dry a little bit, about half hour, 45 minutes. We'll put a nice top layer on it before we throw it up there. And like I said, we'll go from there. So high temp silicone, plop the gasket, prep the surface up there. And it is kind of a pain because you have to put the piece back in there, slide this up in, lift the motor up, bolt the thing back in, and then pop this up. And then you're going to have to put each individual bolt back in. So we're going to be cleaning these as I set them back on the hole. All right, there you go. We put a nice thin layer of silicone underneath. I'm going to let it dry for a little bit. Like I said, while we're working on the other stuff, I need to get this, this guy cleaned off because I don't want to throw this in there like all disgusting. So we're gonna brake clean this guy out. Now I put an extremely small layer right here. I'm gonna clean these holes out even, but the reason I did that was so that I can glue this gasket to it so we don't have to worry about fighting it on the way in. Like I said, we'll get all that cleaned out. Not that that's gonna matter, but yeah, I didn't want any on the inside of this. You do not want, I mean, you don't have to use silicone on that. I just wanted to get the gasket glued down. That way when we're going and trying to fish all this stuff in, we're not having to worry about stuff move side to side and whatnot. So I'm gonna grab a rag, a couple rags, and some brake clean and go clean the underside. All right, so I don't know how well you guys can see it. We got that section cleaned. Everything back there is clean. Now we just gotta do this line right here. Still dirty, haven't gone over it yet, but we're about to do that now. All right, she looks pretty good. We're gonna get the, gonna throw some of that high temp shit on there and toss up the pan. It's gonna be a pain in the ass because you have to do these two bolts, this bolt, and then one of the back bolts there. I think I grabbed, yeah, I took the wrong bolt out the first time, so this bolt here, I don't know what the deal is with that one. There's a hex head there for some reason. I don't know if that's normal or if someone, oh, that might be to clear this. Who knows? All right, so we got the pan back on. Everything is torqued down. Now we just got to put the oil filter back on and grab the bolt for the motor mount. So my wife's going to bring that later and swap out that cord there. Hopefully I didn't over tighten that too much, but it's like 18 foot-pounds is the torque spec. So at some point, once it gets a little warmer out, maybe if we get some warm days, I will definitely take this thing to a car wash and get it cleaned out. So we have a new one coming, but there's the old one. So I got it out. Everything's done minus this. This is all we need to do is just put another bolt in it. I need to find a way to get that out. I'm gonna try to penetrate it, but there is no penetrating oil other than multi-purpose. This is about it. This is all we got left. All right, so this sucker is not coming out tonight, I can tell you that. So I ordered a new one of these and a new bolt, so my wife's gonna go pick that up. She should be here around probably 6:30, 7 o'clock. We'll get that slapped back in. Then I will fill the oil up. I'm gonna wait, let the RTV dry and do its thing. But yeah, we'll wait on that. I'm gonna keep trying to mess with it just in case, but we'll see how it goes. All right, so this is a pretty dirty job. You can see the truck behind me. So we're pretty much stranded here until my wife gets here with that motor mount. And you know, it's unfortunate. It is what it is though, but we'll be able to get this thing going tonight. We'll be able to drive it home tonight. We should be ready to go on the road on Tuesday. So we're gonna drop Tuesday morning. Guys, a lot of you guys, not a lot, like a select few people have been like kind of worried about the way that I think with the whole like paranoia and shit. And you guys gotta understand where I'm coming from with this, because I have literally, like the other day when a police officer comes to my house over a video, that's not the first time that's happened. I've actually had it happen 4 times in the last, oh, when was the first time? I'd like to say 3 years ago is when it started. So I had one officer come over a YouTube video I did with my brother. He was learning how to drive a stick shift, and someone, I think I mentioned, like, it might not have had like the best brakes in the world. I think the brakes might have went out. And I had an officer physically call me. I don't know how he got my number over that. And you know, he's like, you need to take that video down, this and that. And obviously back then, like, I don't know. I don't know the legalities of any of this. I had another incident where we posted a YouTube video, and I was all the way out in Washington State when I had an officer call me and tell me that I had a warrant out for my arrest. Ask me how they do that. Like, and I've had 2 different numbers. So you guys wondering, it's like, we literally live in a communist police state, and this is normal. And as a content creator, me and every single other content creator, we are all targets. You do one thing wrong or one thing they don't like, and they're coming at you. So you guys can understand where I'm coming from with that. Like, it's been 4 times now I've had an officer either call me or show up at my house over some stuff. So it's like, this is normal. And not only that, but I have an officer show up at the house like every couple of months for just some random dumb thing that, for not even things that are worth putting on YouTube, but you get the point. Like, it's uncalled for, and I think it's highly inappropriate and unacceptable, but, you know, it is what it is. It just one of those, like, you guys wonder why I think the way that I do? That's basically why I think the way that I do. Alright, so the exhaust is back on correctly, and the sway bar has been removed. Liam, you want to go throw this in the scrap? Real men don't need sway bars. Alright, so we got the new motor mount. We are going to get this thing installed, and this bolt from a GM, that means we're going to have a recall and a government bailout, but doesn't matter. We're going to install it. Hopefully none of those things happen. Alright, so there's no drips underneath. There's a black mark, so I know that's not it. We'll get this thing cleaned off at some point. I need to tighten up this motor mount yet before I forget. That was a little loose, so 19 mil nut. Let's just fire it up real quick. Make sure we don't have any knocking noises. We're gonna have to fire it up anyway, right? Oil pressure. Okay. Still gotta fix that door. The only casualty we had was breaking that. And I was gonna replace it today. I'm not gonna do that today because that requires me to pull that whole thing out and rewire it, and I don't really want to do that right now. We've been here all day, so get that tightened up. He's gonna pull that out of the way. I'd do it, but I'm a little filthy, so we'll let him do it, and then we're good to go. After firing it up, we did not have any government bailouts or recalls, so it looks like we're good. I did fix an exhaust leak. Apparently the exhaust pulled itself out of the downpipe, and it was a pretty gnarly exhaust leak, so we took care of that. That's why it sounds a lot throatier and deeper. Alright, truck made it home. I'm a little dirty. I need to go get me a shower. But other than that, we made it home. No fatalities, no casualties, none of that shit. So if you guys are interested, check out the description down below and sign up for Mudflap. Seriously, save yourself some money there. But also go check out some of the affiliate links down there from Amazon. That's all stuff that I personally use and I trust and I like. So go check that stuff out as well. And if you guys need any diesel work, we are back up and in business. So let me know if you need anything. CentralPALogistics@gmail.com. I will see you in the next video. Take care. Later.